She's the midnight mistress of fairies and dark mischief. He's the paranormal beacon of mystic fairs and government leaking. If the dark side had a prom, they would be the king and queen. They live the metaphysical and make a wicked awesome team. From every single culture in every corner of the globe, they creep the lore and legends just to keep you in the know. For some it's hyperbole, fantastical and myth. For them it's all too real and your paradigm will shift. It's forever Halloween with all treats and no tricks. He's got a thing for witches and she's all Stevie Nicks. So welcome to our carnival of the weird and the bizarre, where UFOs and curses take shape beneath the stars. Sit back, relax, open your mind and stay a few. It's time for John and Stacey, and do we have something for you? Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we are in the middle of a full moon.
We are.
I mean, not like literally.
No.
We could be, though.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That thing's hollow as could be.
So do you think it's like hollow, like space station hollow, or just naturally hollow?
I think it's hollow like they're monitoring us from there.
You go for that theory.
Oh,
huh?
yeah. This one I do buy. Just because there's a lot of anomalies. I mean, honestly, I can name them if you want to put me on the spot.
I think I want to put you on the spot. You
All right.
need to name some anomalies.
All right. Well, I won't go very in depth, but I'll just give you the 30,000 foot.
Okay.
We're kind of coasting along view here.
Okay.
There's NASA. When we were up there, it rings like a bell.
The moon rings
Yeah,
like
it rings like a bell. Whenever you do something on the moon, it makes rings like a bell, like it's hollow, like metal.
That's very strange.
Yeah.
And they found that out when they went up there?
Right.
Assuming they went up there?
Yes, assuming that they actually went to the moon and it wasn't done in a hall. It may have ringed like a bell because it was the floor
it was Hollywood studio.
in a studio. Yes.
It accidentally rang. They're like, oh, crap. How do we cover that up?
Touche. But
Okay, anyway, continue.
anyway, this is known, Khaleesi.
Okay.
This is known.
Okay.
The next thing, let me think, cosmonauts.
Right.
The cosmonauts, which is Russian astronauts for those playing at home. The cosmonauts in the 70s, I don't know their name, but I bet one of them was Yuri.
Probably.
They absolutely said their thesis to it was that it was a satellite. And they actually came up with that because of different things that they...
So their opinion is that it's actually a...
Yeah, that it's actually a satellite. That
wow.
that it's actually, I mean, it's actually artificial.
I see.
That was what they said. And my favorite one is actually the fact that this one gets a little bit weird, but there's two ways you get a moon.
Okay.
You don't go to the moon mall.
Right. Just pick out a moon.
Right. You don't have to pick out a moon.
That's probably a good thing, because if we had done that, we'd get one that maybe turned around so you could see both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would
Whenever
pick.
kind of cold, like every few years, just, for the heck of it.
Right.
No, you either get it through the fact that it was created at the same time as your planet, or you get it because it was kind of sucked into your orbit.
Right.
Okay. And it just, there, like say another planet blew up or something. It's whatever.
Right. So you catch it and then it's yours.
Right.
Gotcha.
And that one would almost have to be it, because the other one doesn't fit as far as it being created, because the core samples from the moon, assuming we went there,
Right.
are 1 billion years older than the Earth.
Oh, so not created at the same time.
Not created at the same time. At least 1 billion. A billion.
1 billion.
Yeah, years older than the Earth. So, which is weird, right?
It is.
Because if everything was created at the same time,
Right.
So
you're saying it has to be something like maybe it's artificial and it was captured in our
in
our gravitational
I think
force.
it was captured purposely
Right.
in our our gravitational force. I don't know. It's just
weird stuff.
It's not something I'm very passionate about, but
Right.
is in the world of weird. I think that one's possible.
I mean, it is something you have to think twice about.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really seems possible. Well, the whole thing with the astronomers, the amateur astronomers, the last few years, the lunar wave,
Yes, that's weird.
Okay, the lunar wave is bizarre. They can come up with whatever cockamamie thing they want to say.
Right.
And they do. You know, the baffled ones.
Right.
They're going to be like, oh, yes, well, what happens, you see, is every so often there's a secretion from the accretion of the Mocretian desert part of the bottom of the lunar atmosphere. And when that Mocretian exhibits its coronal vortex, then everything will be succumbed into a dust particle circus of galaxical proportions. and when this happens, is everybody asleep yet, Bill? Yeah. I believe they're asleep, sir. And what? No, that one guy's not asleep. That one guy there in the back. Furthermore, after these galactical forces secrete and theorize the reasons that there's a wave. Therefore, there's a wave, and what you're seeing is not real. and I mean, you know what I'm saying. They always come up with something.
Right. I'll probably have to link to the video of that, and for people that listen but haven't seen it.
Here's the easy way. Here's the easy way to explain this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's amateur astronomers out there, and they're mavericks, and they're awesome, and they're they're always watching stuff. So they're also legit astronomers' worst nightmares.
Right.
For a couple of reasons. There's a lot of stuff they see that is very explainable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But then there's the guys that have done it for a long time.
Right.
And there are some like that watch the sun, they watch the satellites, that watch the sun, and they watch the weather patterns, and they're the guys I listen to, and they're the guys I watch.
Mm-hmm.
I respect them. They do this every day of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been some guys that have actually had their channel over the past year. We've talked about it on the show, I believe. Over the past year, out of nowhere, one of the guys who captured this phenomena, his channel was actually taken down, was 100% removed by YouTube. And there's no reason for this. It wasn't like he was playing a Tom Petty song and, showing his junk.
No, all his videos were stuff that he just filmed himself.
Right, absolutely. And it's stuff that had actually been up for a few years. Mm-hmm. But what he showed was the lunar wave. And it looks like, if you believe in the whole glitch in the matrix type thing that's come out over the last few years where we could be in a computer simulation, the only thing that I've ever seen that would give credence to this was, well, two things. My 9th grade French teacher, Miss Asterius.
Wait, Mrs. what?
Asterius.
Oh, okay. I thought you said mysterious, and I was like, that is a strange name.
She was very mysterious. I was suspended twice from school on 3-day out of schools. Wow. Because of her. Yeah, I was a good kid otherwise. but she was a vindictive, mean-tempered, insane woman.
I see.
Miss Asterius, if you're listening out there, I hope you're doing well.
Okay, so what's the other thing?
The other thing is this glitch in the matrix.
The wave. The lunar
wave, yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely. The lunar wave will mess with your mind.
It is very strange.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Like even after you watch it a couple times, you just have to keep watching it.
It looks like the moon's on a loop.
Like it's resetting itself.
Yeah, and there's more stuff. Like absolutely look up the lunar wave. But there's more stuff than that. Even back in the 1800s, when there was some of the more primitive, astronomy going on, and I mean those guys knew their stuff. Don't get me wrong; they knew their stuff 2,000 years ago. But they were watching the moon all the time, and I like a lot of the discoveries from that time period because there wasn't anything else to do.
Right.
Even the ancients, people are always like, where did they get this knowledge? There's no way to explain the fact that they knew those constellations because when it was dark, there's nothing else to do. You had a candle, maybe, but not 2,000 years ago unless you lit one of the servants on fire. And it wasn't that easy to do that. So you could either sit there for 2 hours and like, oh, there's a spark. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to sit in the dark. There's no TV. There's no entertainment. Right. You can have coitus for 2 minutes, but then you want to go outside and smoke some legal herb or whatever was there and look at the sky Look at the absolute sky. So yeah, that's why they knew what was there.
Well, you could probably see the sky a lot better.
Yeah, because they were smoking Mary Jane and they were looking at the sky.
Cities,
There's no cities. There's no TVs, no radios.
No interference.
No, this was their entertainment for half the freaking day. That was your entertainment. So yeah, they figured it out pretty quick.
Yeah, I'd say.
Oh, it makes me mad. How did they know this? Well, it's the only thing you could see. That one, and I even buy into ancient astronaut and all that stuff. But that one. So anyway, back in the 1800s, there was a bridge. Like people observed a big bridge on the moon. And then it was gone. Yeah.
I do remember hearing something about that.
Yeah.
How did they try to explain that away?
Well, I don't think there was people to explain that away yet.
Oh, I see.
Stuff like that's the reason we have people to explain things now.
I gotcha.
Back then, you just kind of seen stuff and then you didn't see it. And you're like, oh, crap.
Somebody made the phone call. You're going to have to get rid of that. We can see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's too big. It's visible. No.
Oh, are you serious? What are we going to do about the bridge? But we really like the bridge. Sorry. No. I mean, I'm looking at it with my naked eyes and I totally see the bridge. No, jeez. What if we painted it? No. I don't believe painting's going to do it, mate. I believe you're going to have to just remove the bridge. Oh, Jesus. All right. What if we projected a moon on the moon? Well, that may work. I mean, what could go wrong? Well, I mean, exactly. The only way they would ever know is if they ever got powerful enough vision to be able to look up close to the moon on their own. And that's not going to happen.
Oh, wow.
What would happen if they did?
It's like the Death Star thing. There's just this one little chance for like a half a second. Yeah. It's going to be a little blip. They'll never notice. Hold
on a second. I don't think I'd be doing my job if I didn't ask. I don't know. It's kind of cool stuff, huh?
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's real.
Yeah, maybe it's really just a moon.
There's a whole lot there saying it's probably not. You know what I mean?
So we just did 10 minutes on how it could not be real and 30 seconds. Oh, maybe it's a rock.
Well, yeah, you decide. Isn't that what all the paranormal videos do?
Yes.
They're show you the most amazing footage ever, right? And you're all excited about it. We do the same thing. We're just like, holy cow, you're not going to believe what we found. And
this is amazing.
Yeah, we go through it. We're doing it 10, 15 minutes. And then at the very end, we're like, and as always, though, this could possibly be explainable, and you decide.
It's like the paranormal disclaimer.
It keeps your credibility. It's like when I was in the band, when I had my own band, and before I let you hear it, I'm like, we're just totally just working on this right now.
Yeah. This was just practice room stuff.
Yeah, practice room stuff. Gonna let
messing around.
Yeah, it's nothing. Just let you listen to it. So yeah, I was checking up on this moon. This is the pink moon.
Oh, okay. Is it actually pink or is it just called the pink moon?
Yeah, it's called the pink moon. You know that. Don't make people think you're stupid. Because I'm going to get a letter about it. I was looking up some stuff. I'll go get into a second, but I was thinking back about the email about the Pope bits. Oh, it wasn't.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't a Pope.
No,
it was a Pope. Yeah, it was a saint.
Well, Saint Brains or something.
Saint Brains, yeah, the Holy Saint Brains.
I don't know, some kind of relic.
Yeah, I was going through, and you'll find out why in a minute, but I was going through some old episodes. And I still feel so bad about that. I don't like offending people.
No, but you weren't trying to offend people. You just really had a question. Yeah.
Curious why we keep that stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I didn't get this as a story, but I saw a story where there was a church that had a heart of a saint's heart preserved in this container. It was like a heart-shaped container. And it actually
that's original.
Yeah. It was stolen in 2012 and it just got returned. Yeah.
Okay. You say heart-shaped.
Yeah.
So you were describing the box that this heart's in by saying heart-shaped container.
Right.
See where I'm going here?
Yes, except that...
Why does a heart look nothing like a heart?
I don't know.
I mean, really, this has always bothered me. The first time I see a human heart in science class...
Right.
I was very, very upset.
Because it didn't look like an actual heart.
Because it didn't look like a heart. Why do they even make the heart look so like balloony? And
I'm sure there's a reason for it.
yeah,
I'm sure there's a reason for it.
I think we're like putting kids behind the 8 ball to start with.
I feel like if you used a realistic looking heart for love, it would not be very nice.
Here's the thing. All right. So people's so worried about offending people or getting things wrong these days, right? Mm-hmm. I want to stand up for the hearts. I'm gonna make a new candy for Valentine's Day.
A realistic heart looking candy.
Anatomically correct candy. I can't think of another word that would describe that better, or at least the correct candy, not a heart with a wing on it.
Right.
But I want it to have the valves and all this stuff.
Be realistic looking.
Yeah, just little candies.
Where would you write on it?
Well, there should still be space for that.
Okay.
I don't see why there wouldn't be space for it, but at least have its actual shape or lack of shape.
Right.
And it's little, valves and stuff, and kids could learn.
Yeah, because kids love to learn with their candy.
Well, it's a lot better than showing them something that's completely false. I don't know.
I don't think you're going to change that.
It's just a thought. So yeah, back to the pink moon. Mm-hmm. The full moon, I should say.
Right.
I looked up some articles and I found a couple of interesting ones. It's the full moon in Scorpio, and of course it means something different depending on what sign you are.
Right. Whether you're a Scorpio or not.
Right. If you're a Scorpio, I believe it's a lot stronger for you. Right now. Right. But I found something interesting.
Okay.
And it was about the full moon because the Jupiter is in retrograde.
Right.
Jupiter being in retrograde right now, that's not a bad thing.
No.
Jupiter is an okay planet to have. That it takes care of things. Right. So I never do these kind of reports, but I thought you would find this one interesting.
Okay.
Because this one kind of pertains to some stuff going on with us, I believe.
Okay.
Jupiter is a philosophizing planet. So Jupiter retrograde coupled with the full moon. And by the way, this is an article on yahoo.com.
Okay.
I want to give some credit here since
I'll link to
totally
it.
Plagiarizing it.
I'll link to it. Then it's all good. Yeah, you can plagiarize away.
Absolutely.
Because we're putting a link up on the website.
You know what? I'm giving some credit here. This person who wrote this did a really good job, and I like what they wrote.
So make a note here. Okay.
So anyway, the planet retrograde, coupled with the full moon in Scorpio, will have you feeling more introspective than usual. I'm going to do my reading voice here. As Jupiter rules fortune, you might have been feeling like the fame and attention you deserve is being delayed. Remember that good things take time, Stacey, and that Jupiter retrogrades allow us to be a little messy, and that the universe has your best interest at heart. It's just doing its thing, moving planets and aligning as it's meant to. Work with the energy, not against it. So use the reflective depth of Jupiter retrograde and Scorpio full moon to allow psychic visions and realizations to come to you. Expect breakthroughs. Be ready to shed your skin, let go of old habits, and patiently trust that in time, you'll get what you've been working your butt off for.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
That's crazy. That sounds like good stuff.
It sounds like good stuff, but does that not sound so freaking to our hearts?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of times, I read those things, and of course, they could apply to many people.
Right.
They're written that way. Mm-hmm. And I totally believe in it. I'm just saying that those mass-produced ones are normally, they're marketed that way.
Right. They're vague on purpose.
And this goes back to your paranormal thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, just because they're like that doesn't mean that you didn't find that particular article on purpose, or the universe didn't make you find that article. Or I mean, very possibly it did. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
And I believe that happened here because I had a number of articles to look through.
Right.
This one, it was definitely halfway, 3/4 down the page. Right.
So it's not even something you would normally look at.
Normally would not have looked at this, and you know me.
Right.
That's your jam, not mine.
Right.
So for me to even look at it, it was kind of weird. And I'm looking at it, and then I see that really does pertain to me and you, and our friends that are in the room with us right now, basically.
Right.
As we're having this private conversation.
Right.
There's a lot of things we're thinking about doing, and they have a lot to do with the show. Mm-hmm. They have a lot to do with the paranormal that we're in. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of big things we've been working on for a long time, for a very long time. So, and it's a big deal. And we've teased you guys, and honestly, I believe just about everybody knows that we're creating something,
right?
And we're actually trying to create some stuff with the show too, where we've, I've never wanted to do anything where I put ads on the show,
right?
Ever,
right?
I'm against that. I don't like for the first 20 minutes to be ads.
Right.
I would rather talk about the hollow moon.
Even if we are doing the ads, it's
right.
still
Even
not.
if we're doing the ads.
Yeah.
And then nothing against the people that do.
No.
And I do want to say that.
People have to make a living.
It's me. I never wanted anybody to have any say other than our listeners. Our listeners have all the say in the world because I truly have a giant collection of friends that I communicate with. If you go onto our webpage, we're on a Facebook page, and the response is 100%. So I like keeping it that way. That means something to me. And especially if the job I work, sometimes it's going to be 10 o'clock at night before I actually get to see it.
Right.
But it is a response rate. But, with that, we are working on a Patreon. And that was at the suggestion of one of our friends, one of our listeners, who actually suggested it. And we started exploring it. And I was like, it'd be really cool to put more content out to up the system, to make the system better, to actually have extra shows, have interview only shows, have possible live shows again.
Yes. Well, I know since we've stepped up the number of, we're trying to go weekly now, we're really pushing the boundaries of our upload limits. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've done this all out of pocket and which no complaints. No. It's for a really, really good reason. But we've really gained a crap ton of popularity and downloads. And in doing so, we have the needs to expand. So we've been looking at ways to expand without hurting the content, and in fact, adding content.
Yes.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see the Patreon added.
Yes.
So we're looking at levels and what things we could give.
Yes, and if the listeners have any kind of thoughts on what kind of extra content you'd be interested in.
Absolutely.
That would be something we would like to hear about. Yeah.
I mean, and some of the things, like I said, some of the things we've tossed around is bringing interviews back for their own show. So we do a special interview with somebody. Right. And, topics even. We've thought about just private content or extra content where we have an extra show, even have live shows with, as Skype and stuff, like we used to do. Right. Back in the early days. But, it's if you have suggestions, pour them out there. It'd be really cool. But hey, this is a special show. Is it? Speaking of the show, this is a very special show. Do you know why? No. Why is it special? It's episode 50. It is episode 50. You're absolutely right. Yeah, this is episode 50. And the cool thing about that is this is episode 50 of us doing it ourselves. Yes. Before, as we've chronicled, we had a producer, and then we had another producer and several techs working with us on the YouTube /podcast, that we had with the third side. So we've always had people doing it with us or for us. And we had a lot of success with that. And then when we moved, we decided, we've wanted to do it on our own for a long time. So we decided to do it on our own. Yes. And it's been a learning process. It has been. It has been. So, if you go through, you'll probably notice as the sound probably gets better as it goes. Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, you got to think, we started out in a legit, we started out in a TV studio, and then, Wes built a freaking actual recording studio to house our podcast. Yeah, we've kind of been doing it backwards, haven't we? Yeah. And then the next thing that happens, we had a studio built for us with props and for the video podcast. And then we wanted to do it on our own. So, and the reason behind that, all these guys were great guys, but it wasn't as personal with you guys.
Right.
So, that's the whole thing. There was always somebody suggesting things. There was always another agenda.
Well, we weren't as free to share our personal stories
Not at all.
like we do now. Like when we talk about what we did this week and, personal things that happened to us. And
Absolutely.
Stuff like
we didn't feel comfortable with it because we
totally couldn't say #mommy daddy time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The first the first one, like I said, it was great. But we had somebody in another room with the headphones on. Actually interrupting during live shows.
Yeah, we didn't control any of the editing of any of those shows.
Telling us what should be in or shouldn't be in, and that's fine. That's what his job was, right?
Right.
It's just like when I used to record music, I would get mad sometimes because somebody wanted another take, but that was their job.
Right.
And then, after that, we doing third side. There again, it was a lot of, well, let's do this take, let's do this,
Maybe you shouldn't say that.
Yeah, or maybe you should say this.
Right.
That was more that place.
Yeah.
That was more, hey, why don't you say this? And we didn't want to say that.
Right.
In my opinion. They wanted us to talk about things that we didn't want to talk about.
That's true.
It was their agenda, not ours. And I'll just put that out there because that's the truth. And nothing against those guys at all. They did us a solid. They did us right, and they were cool dudes. But they wanted us to push some stuff that we weren't comfortable pushing.
Right.
So we didn't, and so here we are. But back to the good happiness.
Yes.
Since it was the 50th episode, I thought it would be cool to do a top 10 list.
Oh, well, you haven't had one of those in a while.
Yeah. So in the flavor of Tim Clark, miss you, buddy. I did a top 10 list of our episodes thus far out of the 50.
Okay.
On the Paranormal Sideshow.
Okay. So top 10 Paranormal Sideshow episodes?
Yeah. In the opinion of me.
So these are your top 10 favorites?
These are my top 10 favorites.
Are we counting from 10 to 1?
Of course we're counting from 10 to 1.
Of course. A traditional top 10. Okay.
So number 10 was pretty recent.
Okay.
For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Oh, that was a good show.
Episode 48.
Okay, that's all the way at 10?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So episode 48, it was a long, long show.
It was very long.
Couple hours. And it was the Art Bell tribute.
Yes.
So that show got pretty personal. And we did some really cool stories, though, about, coast to coast. And it was, coast to coast is a huge inspiration to us. So it was a very good show.
Yes.
Number 9 it was episode 34, Mysterious Booms.
Oh, that was a good episode. That's something that's personal to you.
Oh my God. The Mysterious Booms is actually more than personal.
Right.
It's a cause. And it has been since we first started the show.
Right.
So 8 years. Mysterious Booms has been a pain in my butt.
Right.
And I want to give out a honorable mention.
Okay.
To 2 episodes that play as one in my head. Episodes, I believe it was 44 and 45. They Are Not Human in the delayed episode.
Right.
Those 2, for some reason, because there was so much crazy that caused that episode to be delayed. I love those 2 episodes.
Yeah. The thing I hated about the delayed episode is we would put it out and then we put another episode out the next day.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people listened to the delayed episode.
That's why
it was
I like it.
One of the better ones.
Yeah. The delayed episode was one of my favorite episodes. And I put those as one episode in my head.
So that's not on the list.
It's not. It's an honorable mention, but I think that a lot of people missed it.
Yeah, I think so.
I really do. That's what my fear is, because they were put out, right in a row like that. But it was a good episode. So then I go to number 8, the Unsolved Mysteries episode.
Oh, that one was fun. I liked that one.
Yeah, that was episode 13. Had a lot of fun just, talking about some of those in the creepy voice.
Yes.
In the storytelling
Anytime
voice.
you get to do your creepy voice.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Number 7 was Let's Talk About Ghosts. Going all the way back to episode 2.
Wow.
And that would be the first time we had Travis Molden on the show.
Right.
So our buddy Travis joined us on that. And that was a great episode. Then I want to go to number 6, which was Best Evidence Part 1.
Yes.
And that was
a good episode.
Episode 7. We got to share some of and on our other podcast, we've shared that stuff before, some of it. But that was a lot of fun being able to share that and revisit some of those EVPs. I know you had fun.
Some of those stories.
You had fun prepping it.
Yes.
So, and some of the stories were just amazing. Just going back and thinking about some of the stuff was really cool. Number 5, because it's the dynamic we have, is the overshare episode.
Yes.
I really enjoyed the overshare episode, episode 24, if you're playing at home. And episode number 4, not episode 4, but number 4 on the list is the rogue episode. It kind of goes with the overshare episode.
Yes, the rogue episode was actually really good. We actually had Travis and Alan with us, and that one just went all crazy.
Yeah.
Like it went off the rails. I couldn't even keep you guys in check on that one. Alan
Marston and Travis Molden joined us on that one again, and we did. We just got the communication went all over the place. It's episode 19, a lot of fun. Number 3, the Confederate Ghost.
Oh, yes.
It's personal. I love that episode. Talking about the book that is completed, and at the time it was nearly completed, and we were sharing a chapter or two. Episode 17 is what that was. Number 2, again, Travis and Alan, the Paranormal Roundtable. That's episode 12. So we had a lot of fun with that and talked about some things. And my number 1 favorite of this incarnation of the podcast.
The first 50 episodes.
Do you have any idea? My number 1 favorite is the Mandela Effect episode.
Oh, of course. Of course. That one just sort of like my mind was blown by the time it was done.
Episode 8. And I believe that episode took some legs. I believe that there was a lot of inspiration come out of that episode. So that's why that's my favorite one thus far. Is just because I believe that one did some thought provoking.
Right.
And we had a lot of fun with the guys on that episode. But I also have some other list here for you.
Another list?
Well, yeah, a little trivia for you.
Well, can I just say something about your top 10 list?
Absolutely.
I'm really surprised that the first episode didn't make it, the Holdefolk episode.
Yeah, well, I love that episode. Do you know why it didn't make it?
I'm not sure.
I don't think we did the little people justice.
You don't think we did a good job?
I think we did a good job, but I don't think we did them justice.
I see.
I think we still have an episode coming.
Yes.
Where we talk about fairies, leprechauns, elves, brownies.
Right.
Where we go deeper, have a true expert join us on the subject, and at least some altering opinions.
Right.
And really dive into it deeply. So that's the only reason. It's because it's something you and I are so passionate about. And it goes back to something we say almost every episode. When every country in the world has a legend about, little people and the magical people and wee folk, and then there's got to be something to it. So anyway, that's why it wasn't on there. So
I see.
Anyway, do you know what the first ever episode that we ever had was? On Haunted South.
Haunted South, it was Paranormal Hitchhikers.
There you go.
How could I not remember our very, very first?
And who was the guest?
Reverend Dale Gordon.
Wow.
There you go. I remember.
I am impressed. Give me a little fist action. There you go. That was awesome.
Thank you.
I thought I was going to have you on that one.
No, it's the very first one we ever did. Of course I remember.
Now, you know what the real trivia to that is?
What?
That wasn't the first one we ever did. That's the first one that got released.
Oh, that's true. We actually did an episode with Serena, didn't we? And it didn't get released.
So we did an episode with Serena Gordon from Kentucky.
That's right.
And she came on. It was amazing. Oh, my God. It was such a good debut episode. And something happened where
it didn't. We were live at that time.
We were live.
Yeah, and it didn't.
It didn't record. So if you were live, you got to hear it.
Right.
But there's no catalog of it.
Right.
It didn't get recorded.
Right. Didn't get put in the archives or anything.
For whatever reason, it was not archived. And that bothers me. But it's a cool trivia.
Yes,
so,
that's true.
And I got a list of just it's not in any certain particular order.
Okay.
But since this is an anniversary of sorts, I wanted to talk about some of my favorite episodes from both shows.
Okay.
Because we talked about with the Patreon thing, we talked about maybe a lot of our requests have been about our old shows. And we do have those. So we thought about releasing those as part of, like extra content.
Like a back catalog.
Yeah, back catalog stuff. So anyway, one of those would be the Pet Psychic episode.
I loved the Pet Psychic episode.
Haunted South.
She was amazing.
She was amazing.
Yes.
and she did a really good job. She connected with our cat, I believe.
Dog.
Okay. We've had some pets. So her
name was Laura Stinchfield.
Yeah.
You can find her on Facebook. She's really good.
Yeah. I know you love that.
Yes.
That was Stacey's guest. A lot of times I find the guest and Stacey finds a guest. It's very personal.
That's because you would never have thought to find a pet psychic.
No.
I don't think.
No, not at all. She was so funny though.
Yeah, she was really good.
The way she does it. Because it freaked us out. That's why I love that episode so much. It's because sometimes when you do an episode and you're live, at the time we did it, we broadcast it live.
Yeah.
So we were in that studio and I wasn't prepared whatsoever. Stacey found this guest. Normally when I find a guest, I know them or I know something about them or
right.
I read their book or I look into it. I went into this completely cold. All I knew is there was a pet psychic. So I'm sitting there and I'm not prepared. And she's like, she wants to connect to somebody. So she started with us. Mm-hmm. And she went, I think she was trying to talk to Amy, our beagle. Mm-hmm. And she was just like, Amy, or something like, I'm connecting. And she's like, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. And I like looked around and I'm like, and I remember looking in the other room and Wes has the headphones and he was normally about half asleep. You got to imagine Wes, he's probably snacking on something and he's got his feet up and he's, reading a paper or something. He's like the ultimate producer in another room, right?
Right.
If he smoked, he'd have had a cigar. That was just how he was. And I remember him looking around. I remember him looking around when she did it. And then he asked another question and I was just locking eyes with him. And at first, I'm sorry, but at first I just wanted to bust out laughing because when I figured out that I wasn't hearing that damn dog.
Right.
That's when I knew she had this other little voice and I can't even do that little voice, but she used this little tiny voice for the pet. So she's talking and she's just like, well, how are you doing? I'm doing good. Do you love your mommy and daddy? I love my mommy and daddy. My mommy and daddy are so good to me. I'm very sad though. They're at the studio right now and I'm here at home. I'm very, very sad. And it wasn't just a little voice. It was like the little voice, like the little cute voice, like a little baby or something. And she did it straight face, man. She just did it straight face. So I'm sitting there like all this stuff's going through my head and I can remember this even though it's like 7-8 years ago. All this stuff's going through my head. Like how's this chick like do her business? You know what I mean? Like people come in there and they sit across the table from her and they're just like, we'd like to connect to Rex. And she's like, okay, all right. Rex was a Cocker Spaniel. Okay, Rex, okay. Rex, are you there? Rex, Rex, if you're there, can you? Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm right here. I'm in the room right now. I don't know what happened. Oh, are you okay, Rex? I'm pretty good, yeah. Just a little upset. Why are you upset, Rex? Well, they told me that I was going to get a treat and then we were going to go to the park. But then they did something terrible to me at the vet. I don't really know, but it was really, really bad. And I didn't really like girls anymore after that. And then the next thing I know, I was gone. Got hit by a car because I saw it. It was just really fun. But that was what was going through my head with stuff like that. So I didn't get the full effect out of the episode. I'm sure she's very talented.
She was amazing.
But that was funny.
It just threw you off.
It was funny.
Yes.
It was really funny. I would bring her back now as long as she didn't listen to what I just did. I would bring her back now.
We just said how amazing she was.
She is amazing. She's also hilarious.
Yes.
It's a bonus.
Well, it was my fault for not warning you. I apologize.
Yeah. Somebody needs to. So next I want to give some love out. Mm-hmm. This one's from the third side.
Okay.
It's the John Tenney episode.
Oh, yes.
I cosplayed. I wore my John Tenney shirt and tie. This was when his last TV series that he had out was
Ghost
on
Stalkers.
Was on Destination America,
mm-hmm.
and we talked a little inside baseball about the show and the production and how it was nothing like what he thought it was going to be.
Right.
Somehow they completely made a different show than what he recorded. So undoubtedly, Mr. Tenney had talked for hours explaining some wonderful theories about the paranormal in a show that I would have loved.
Right. But then they cut him down to like a sentence.
The show wasn't about vortexes. It wasn't about vortexes. But when they made the show and you watch it, every episode was about a vortex.
Right.
And so it was really funny. It really gave some inside baseball to TV production and everything.
I really liked that show. I hate that it didn't continue.
They got some great evidence.
I just thought the combination of him and Chad Lindbergh was really funny.
Chad Lindbergh was comedy gold.
Oh, he was great.
He was paranormal gold. And having Tenney on there as the straight guy, it was amazing.
It's because Chad's what people really act like when they're at an investigation, even though they want to make you think they're the John Tenney.
Right.
But really, they're the Chad Lindbergh.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's how that works.
Ghost Stalkers was a great show.
Yes, I agree.
It really was. The next one was another Third Side episode. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite episodes we ever did. It may be. No, it's not. It's not the favorite.
Okay.
Let's say it's my favorite without a guest.
Okay.
It was the Halloween episode where you dressed as Cleopatra.
You only liked it because I dressed up.
So, yeah. So sometimes I may or may not go back and watch that episode.
Right.
Before hashtag mommy daddy time. Just throwing that out there. If you know where the Cleopatra outfit is, that's a perfect way to segue into hashtag mommy daddy time. The next one is a collection of episodes. Uh-huh. Not just one.
Okay.
A collection of episodes on MUFON.
Oh,
where we had
a
couple of different guests during Haunted South that were Tennessee State directors. Max Mitchell was the main one.
Yes.
He brought on the actual somebody from Western Tennessee at another time. Max was amazing. Max is one of the straight-laced guys that you would ever talk to.
Right.
And he'd been doing it for a long time, boots on the ground, but he had that voice, and he was like, it was so awesome because it was like you were talking to the smoking man on the X-Files or some crap.
Right.
And so he'd talk to me. He'd always have these great stories and be like, well, John, it almost became a correspondent. Every few weeks we would check in.
Yeah.
And he'd
always have great stories.
He'd be like, well, John, what happened? Let me tell you. Down not too far from where you guys are, there was actually a craft spun it and people got out, And I was sitting there just salivating, right? Loved it. He actually, what makes it so great is he always straight, always mathematical, always precise, never gave too much, right?
Right.
Kept a skeptical mind. And then the episode about the reptilians happened. So he has a friend.
Right.
This guy, man, I'm telling you, this guy was like, it could have been a UFO, maybe not. It was more than likely like a flying semi truck. They've been working on those. It was never just straight up aliens.
Right.
But the one thing he was convinced of was that there was freaking reptilian race in plain sight that was skin changers.
Right.
Okay. So this guy couldn't tell me straight that UFOs were here.
Right.
He wouldn't tell me that Roswell happened. But by God, there was reptilian skin changers and they are among us. I have never been more frightened in a 2-week period after doing a show than I was after I listened to him, because he has this voice. It was like talking to Wilford Brimley. I mean, it's just that trusting voice,
right, know? Right.
Like a father on a Sunday evening show at 7:00, or the grandfather, he's like, it's okay. Just get back on the bike and ride it again. Everybody falls, have some hot soup here. Your grandma made it, and a cheese sandwich. It's all good for you. Stick to your ribs.
Right.
That kind of stuff. But then he tells me the story. Like, I forget. I'm like half paying attention. I'm doodling, playing hangman or something. We were talking about, UFO cases.
Right.
And then he hits me. He's like, yeah, well, there's just one good friend of mine that been doing this for 30 years. And I tell you,
because I asked him, I said, what's the weirdest thing? I was like,
Yes.
remember, I was like, what's the strangest thing? I always had questions that I would ask everybody.
Right.
And you don't expect something, because normally it's like, what's the strangest thing? Well, there was an orange UFO.
Right.
No. The strangest thing for him was a guy that was more honest to him than any reverend he'd ever met. This guy was straight up. This was like a swear on your baby's life kind of guy.
Right.
He completely went off the rails because he had some information about reptilians, and something happened, and he had a head injury.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, he was in a restaurant, a little choke and puke, and saw people in there that were freaking reptilians.
Mm-hmm.
And he did something, and I think it went away or whatever, but he was able to see them.
That's
and
crazy.
It was really, the story's much better than that.
Right.
That's
right.
memory there that I've tried to block. It's hard to put up the wall and try to, break it back down.
Right.
But the MUFON episodes were always interesting for me. They were a lot of fun. The favorite two that I have,
Okay.
out of any episodes,
Okay.
any of the shows that we've ever done, that goes back to Haunted South again. The favorite one I ever have is the original Black Eyed Kids episode.
Yes. That was a very popular episode.
David Weatherly. David, we became friends with right off the bat. We met him at Scarefest 2010, and we hit it right off the bat. He hung out at our table the whole time. And, David wrote a book on Black Eyed Kids. There's dedication in there. We're part of the dedication for Haunted South, in there, in the first edition anyway. And he's wrote many since then that are, I think around that phenomenon, and traveled the world looking into things like that, and still does, man. The guy's one of the busiest dudes in the paranormal, going all kinds of places, and he's always at conventions and everything else. Wonderful person. He really is. He's a cool dude. But he's creepy AF.
Yes.
You talk about creepy stories. It doesn't get much creepier. So we really turned the lights down on those, and really
that
got
episode did creep me out.
Oh, it creeped out everybody.
Yeah.
So then we did that episode again because we had like 100,000 downloads. I'll never forget, like the week after we did that, we seen the metrics, and we had 100,000 downloads on that episode. We're like, oh, okay, So it was like 6 months later, a year maybe.
It was. I
think it might have been a year. We brought David back. And it was over a year, and we did the Black Eyed Kids Return of the Black Eyed Kids or something. And this time when we did it, it was Tim's last episode.
Oh, okay.
So it was a double duty. Tim wanted to go out on a high note,
right?
And that was a special episode because we talked to Tim about why he was leaving.
Right.
I didn't want him to just go into the sunset as he would.
Right.
So I kind of grilled him on air, as I do. A lot of people think that I write stuff down and it's all planned, and it's not.
No.
I put you on the spot. I put everybody on the spot.
Sometimes I wonder how people can think that what we say is planned.
But it's I like to get honest answers, honest reactions. And we talked to Tim, who's a great friend of ours, and I apologize, Tim Clark, on any of the early Haunted South. He's part of it. He was the tech guy. He would have Tim's Tool Time or whatever.
Tech Talk.
Yeah, Tech Talk. Sorry.
There you go.
And we would have the top 10 list with Tim every episode, and then he would help me grill Stacey during the news. So it was wonderful times that we had, and that was the one we asked him, and he gave me that earth-shattering response. Why are you getting out? Why are you stopping investigating with us? It was like he wasn't just getting out of the podcast.
Right.
He was getting out of Paranormal. He was getting out of the team.
Right.
Because up until that point, it was us and them. We'd already streamlined our teams down. And we had figured out that smaller teams were better. And that we would just go in bed with other teams and, you know, all this stuff. And so we asked him, and he's like, well, I seen what I came to see. And he's like, after investigating with you, I absolutely have heard and seen all I need to see. He had his answers. On one hand, I was honored.
Right.
Absolutely honored. Because I know that for whatever reason, I have a lot of activity surround me in my life. If I'm on an investigation, it started out as a joke with people that if you want something to happen, you go with John. And then I was tested by skeptics and passed with flying colors. They always looked like buttholes. It's not all fun and games, because that's great when you're on investigation. But when you leave the investigation, everybody else gets to go home, and I would still have that activity around me. Yep. All the time. It changes your life. It changes how your life is and how your house is and how it feels to be alone and everything, because you have activity drawn to you. You're a beacon to the paranormal. I am a beacon to the paranormal. It was described to me early on with a psychic that, you know, that there's a big fog light coming off my third eye, and they can see me in the dark. So the spirits can see me and they want to get near me and try to communicate or whatever. And there's a lot of you out there that I know are beacons. A lot of you that I talk to, I know that you're beacons. And I think that's why we're all drawn together, looking for answers the way that we do. There's one more episode over that time period. And
is it a Haunted South one also?
It is.
Okay.
And originally we talked about Serena Gordon was our trivia for the first one. Right. Well, she did end up being our second one. And it was called Mediums in the Digital Age, because we talked about how she does her mediumship using a recorder and was able to actually get a lot. And it inspired me because to me that was tangible. And I could see giving a reading to someone where they can actually hear voices. You know, hear the evidence there. But Serena is a all-time member. She joined me on the Ghost Brothers episode that I did, that we just passed the 1-year anniversary for 2 days ago. She joined me on that because I made sure she was on that. I introduced her to Hollywood, and because I thought she needed to be on there because she is a lovely, incredible, beautiful soul. And I love Serena Gordon. So that's my spiel. That's what I have. And, you know, I thought maybe you would enjoy that a little bit. Yes. And I thought everybody out there hopefully would enjoy that a little bit. But if you want to know about it, you can find it at paranormalsideshow.com. That's your address to go find out everything podcast. On facebook.com/paranormalsideshow podcast away. On the Twitter, it's at sideshow97. We occasionally talk about the podcast. Instagram, Hot Podcast Damn. It's John and Stacey Edwards. We never even mentioned the podcast there. YouTube.com/paranormalsideshow. We'll eventually talk about the podcast again, but we do upload it every week. Please take a quick moment, like, follow, subscribe, wherever you listen to the pod, wherever it is, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc., especially etc. Leave a review on etc. We need to start a podcast hosting app called etc. Just saying. And be sure to showcase your inner weird, support your favorite paranormal podcast by checking out all the t-shirt designs at tpublic.com/user/paranormal sideshow. Hashtag believer stuff is on there, and just a normal paranormal sideshow. I would like to thank everyone who has bought a shirt, bought a hoodie, you know, bought a tank top, everything, bought some panties,
stickers. I think we might have sold a sticker or two.
Yeah. So I really appreciate everybody out there for your support. It means a whole lot to us. And honestly, you know, like I said, probably going to be looking into this Patreon thing and bringing that out here. So stick around. There's a lot more content coming. And speaking of content, because I could have went either way there, it's about time for some paranormal news.
right, so let's get to the news.
Let's.
All right, so the first story, actually set of stories that we're going to talk about, is some more of those mass die-offs, mass animal die-offs.
Okay.
And we've had some stories about this recently and in the past, but there's been a couple kind of strange ones that have happened recently.
Yeah, they're all pretty strange.
So this first one we're going to talk about is this one in Idaho Falls.
Okay.
Okay, and
right there it is. It's called Idaho Falls.
And so this newswoman was outside and she was taking cell phone video of a storm. She works for the local ABC channel there, and her name's Linda Larson. And she was trying to get some shots of the lightning because they were having a huge storm come in. And as she was taking the footage, you could see the birds falling out of the sky.
Very odd. I have seen the footage myself, and a lot of times we get the aftermath. We get the birds laying on the ground.
Right.
You don't normally get the birds falling.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is eerie. It's an eerie video when it's slowed down.
Well, and it's not like just little birds. These were geese.
Yeah.
These were big birds. So it was
Gooses.
it ended up being over 100. And the official explanation is that they were struck by lightning.
Yes.
Because there was a storm. But they didn't all fall out of the sky at the exact same time.
Right.
So if it was lightning, it would have had to been multiple lightning strikes, because you see some of them fall and then you see more of them fall. They were all over the place. They were only able to get the first 50 of them.
That's
and then they
terrible.
had to go back on Monday and get them off the roofs of the buildings.
Yeah. I mean, it almost caused accidents, people goosenecking and trying to see what was going on, but no one's really sure it's anybody's goose at this point.
Well, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game had an officer there. His name was Jacob Burrell, and he did an interview with East Idaho News.
I bet the Idaho Fish and Game guys are pretty serious about that.
They probably are.
More than most.
And he was talking about...
They know potatoes and they know their damn goose.
He was talking about the geese that had fallen. And he actually said, in this article, it says that he said several of the geese had their stomachs blown open and all of them were dead.
Well, yeah.
But then he said none were injured.
Wait a second. Okay, they had their stomachs blown open.
Several of them had their stomachs blown open. All the geese were dead, but none were injured. I guess
It's a weird kind of like...
I don't know what he considers injured.
Two school buses leave 2 different points at the same exact time.
Yes. So they still do think that it was just the lightning that did it. But, there was no official confirmation on that.
Maybe there was a mass Alka-Seltzer throw or something with the stomachs being blown up.
I think that's seagulls. Isn't that seagulls?
I don't know.
I don't know. So on the same day that this happened in Idaho Falls, there was a bird death in Little Rock, Arkansas.
I thought you were going to say in oops, slip, Arkansas or something.
Well, it wasn't as many birds. It wasn't geese. It was just a smaller type of bird, but it was in the downtown Little Rock area. And
the important thing is, did you just say it was the same day?
Yes, it was the same day that these two things happened.
Makes it crazy.
It is weird. And it was not as many. It was a few dozen birds, and they were just sort of dead on the ground in the
Except
downtown
in Arkansas,
area.
they're not going to check the roof.
Well, what they think happened is this type of bird likes to eat berries, and they feel like there was these berries that had ethanol in them, and because of the way the temperature went from really cold to really warm, the berries went bad.
Yeah.
So basically, they consumed alcoholic berries and then flew into things and died. That's the explanation.
Wow.
Drunk birds.
That sounds like another Saturday night with East Tennessee birds.
Well, in true
Arkansas birds are lightweights.
They are. Few alcoholic berries.
The birds from where we came from, they wait around for the berries to heat up. Hey, Mikey, they warm yet?
These were cedar waxwing birds, so they're just little birds. I guess they can't eat a lot of berries.
Yeah, they can't hold their berries.
Well, in true Arkansas fashion, they said that when it came to cleaning up the carcasses, the predatory birds have already swooped in and took care of it. There you go. That's all taken care of.
Freaking terrifying predatory birds.
Well, I thought this was really odd because, we've actually talked about stories about whales and fish and sea creatures all washing up. And so I happened to find this website. And I'm going to link to it. It's really interesting.
Is it like deadanimal.com?
No, but it is endtimesprophecy.org. So it's like an end times website.
Basically dead time.
And in between all the information, there's going to be a link every now and then saying, if this bothers you, learn how to be saved kind of thing. But they actually track the mass animal deaths every year, and they make a list. And it's actually very eye-opening. And so
they believe Jesus is killing the birds ever so often.
I didn't really read into that part of it.
Is there people get saved more often because of geese falling from the sky?
I don't think so. I think it's more of a...
Is there a prophecy in the Bible that talks about birds falling out?
I don't know. I didn't click any of the extra
Sorry,
links.
I'm just curious.
They all say, if you're worried about this, click here. Or if you want to know why this, click here. I didn't click here.
I'm going to go click.
Okay. What I did look at was this list of the mass death events.
I'll be their editor by next
for
week.
this year.
Okay.
Okay. So this year, 152 that they've gathered.
Mass bird deaths.
Not just birds, just mass animal death events.
152.
For this year. And we're only at the end of April.
Right.
Now, granted, if you look down the list, there are several that have to do with things like avian flu, and they're very explainable, and they're animal deaths that have to do with disease and things like that. But there are some that are very unexplainable. There's the ones on there that we talked about. And there are actually some of the animal die-offs aren't even on the list that's on this website.
Right.
Like the one we talked about from Little Rock was not on there. And there was one in Bulgaria recently around a monastery, a bird die-off, and they actually had another incident 2 weeks before that also was not on the list. So it's not every single one.
So they had it like it happened in the same place, and then 2 weeks later again?
Not exactly the same spot, but very close, yes.
That's weird.
Yes, it is very strange. But
I think they're cloaked UFOs, man.
It could be. It could be.
I think a lot of them are like seriously like UFOs they're running into or something. I don't know.
It could be something like that. Well, I'm going to link to those lists because they're really interesting. And every entry on the list has a link to a news story that goes with that particular die-off. But I did pick out 2 stories from this past year, from this year, that I thought were really interesting that we hadn't talked about that I wanted to mention.
Okay.
So the first one I want to mention is about 150 cows that have dropped dead. And this is in Kenya. And what happened was the village, they all let their cows kind of graze in the same area.
Right.
And after the cows had finished grazing and they came home, the man that they're talking to in this article, he heard something strange. It was a little after 10 p.m.
They're missing their udders.
Strange in the cow shed.
Surgical precision.
And no, not quite.
Okay.
And so he went out to check on his cows, and he noticed that one of his cows had dropped dead. And then another one dropped dead, and another one, and they kept doing that. And he lost like 10 cows in 30 minutes. They were dropping dead so fast. Out of his 24 cows, he lost 14 cows.
Wow.
So he went to his neighbor to find out if anything, if he had heard anything or seen anything. And his neighbor was having the same problem. And same time, a little bit after 10 p.m., and he lost like 9 out of his herd. There was one man that lost 19 out of 36, and then another one lost 7. And everyone, like 36 homes were affected.
Wow.
For a total of over 150 cows, but nobody lost all their cows. Everyone just lost some of their cows.
Dude.
They have no idea why or what happened.
That sounds like witchcraft or some kind of demonic activity or...
It does. And I think they said that some of the cows were like foaming at the mouth. And so they thought maybe when they were grazing, that there was a chemical sprayed nearby and they ate the grass. But all the people that own the cows said that they've used that pasture to graze since forever. I think they said since time in memoriam, they've always used it.
Yeah.
And so they have never seen anything like that.
Yeah, no. Obviously, they wouldn't probably be doing it.
No, so very strange. Have no idea. And this has really taken that's their living.
Yeah,
so it was
absolutely.
really bad. But another one that I thought was even stranger than that. Mm-hmm. And this one is from Beira Alto in Curitiba, which is Brazil.
Right.
And this is about some birds. And there was like 60 birds that were found dead in a chicken coop. Now, they weren't all chickens. There was like some geese, some ducks, and some chickens.
Right.
And only 2 chickens out of the whole flock were left alive. But the ones that had died had their hearts torn out.
Well, okay, oddly enough, as you're saying that, I'm sitting here looking it up because I like following along myself.
Right.
I have a news story here that's pulled up. And the headline is weird.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you pulled that story. That's a weird story. But listen to this headline.
Okay.
In Brazil, something has killed 60 ducks and geese and gently pulled their hearts. And uses the word gently pulled their hearts.
Yes.
Mysterious events that occurred in the Curitiba in Brazil has frightened local residents. As reported by Massa News, recently one of the farmers named Sidney Dos Santos early in the morning went to his usual poultry and chicken coop and found all his chickens, geese, and ducks someone killed. And not just killed, someone or something gently pulled from their bodies the hearts, leaving only a small hole in the chest. There's pictures here.
It said in the one that I read that there was precise cuts on the chest, the back, and the neck.
Yeah.
And what I thought was really strange about this whole story is that him or his neighbors, they didn't hear any noise.
Yeah, no noise overnight, it says.
No noise. I mean, how do you go into a chicken coop with 60-some birds and kill a bird without the other birds making any noise?
There's also no blood.
Yes. Very strange.
Okay, so there's no blood. There's pictures of the victims here. Very, very creepy, man. This is really strange. As I look over here, it says to mind immediately comes numerous cases of mutilation of livestock, mainly cows and sheep, that occur from time to time in the United States, Mexico, Argentina, and other countries. Damn you, Argentina, there you are. From mutilated cows and sheep are often remove the internal organs from and of the external organs, tongue, ears, teats, and all this is cut away with a very sharp instrument and cut surgically smooth. Ufologists and other researchers of anomalous phenomena accused of similar manipulations of the aliens, and in some cases the chupacabra. Yeah, I mean, I thought chupacabra when you started telling me this. Like, this sounds like a chupacabra
The
story.
only part of the story that I don't understand is how it happened so quietly.
Yeah.
Because that is a lot of birds.
No, honestly, very strange.
Yes. And I saw the picture and it's like just a bird with just a hole just where their heart was. It's crazy.
Yeah, very, very strange.
Yeah. So I thought that one was one of the really weird ones. So there's definitely something strange going on with these animal die-offs.
Yeah, I agree.
And definitely check out that list because it'll blow your mind how many there are.
It's very creepy.
Okay, so let's go on to our next story.
Let's.
And this is a story about a discovery in Peru of an ancient mass child sacrifice.
Wow.
And they feel like this is
very specific.
it is the largest child sacrifice they've ever found. They found 140 sets.
I mean, how big of a child was it?
I meant the number of children.
Oh, I thought it was like a big, big child.
Like a giant child.
Yeah.
No. 140 sets of child remains and 200 juvenile llamas.
Okay, wait a second. This is in like Cusco or
It's in
the Emperor's New Groove?
Huanchacuito, Las Llamas.
Las Llamas.
Yes.
Lots of llamas.
And
I wonder if Ricardo Llamas is from Peru.
I don't know. I don't know if llamas is the same as llamas.
Oh, well, it's kind of like the thing
I don't think there's enough L's.
pregnant women do, right?
No, that's llamas.
Yeah.
It's all very close.
Tomato. Anyway,
the discovery was originally made back in 2011 when they first started seeing some of the different skeletons, but they've been excavating it and working on it all this time.
Wait a second. How did they see the skeletons?
It was in sand and some of the sand was getting eroded away and things were starting to poke out
Really?
through the ground. Yes. So
Did Sparky bring back a toy?
Excavated. I don't think it worked out like that. They excavated the whole area and they found all of those child's remains and all of the llamas. They also discovered some rope and textiles and they radiocarbon dated those to between 1400 and 1450. So it's very old. And they also found the remains of 3 adults, 1 man and 2 women that they believe had something to do with the sacrifice and then were disposed of afterwards.
Wow. So they had them do their dirty work and decided to kill him?
I think so, yes.
Like they were really mad. They were like, you killed all our kids.
What have you done? What have you done?
We were just joking. I mean, we just wanted some rain.
Well, it's terrible.
Jesus, Mikey.
Of course, everybody asks why would a culture, a society do something like that. And the only thing that they can guess is that the ground sort of suggests that it was very wet and flooded and maybe there was an El Nino event going on and their crops wouldn't grow and everything was flooding and regular sacrifice wasn't working. So they went to extreme measures.
What if
that's the theory.
What if the kids were all possessed and a priest put all of the demons in the llamas?
Oh, you think?
Just like the Bible.
Well, then why would they kill the kids?
They didn't have any goats available or something. And they put them all in the llamas, and then the kids were all spent. So they just, I don't know, maybe they dropped dead, and then they were like all sad about it, and they killed themselves. I don't know.
Anything, but they just killed them on purpose.
Why did they kill the damn llamas?
I don't know. It must have been
I'm not more upset about the llamas than I am the kids.
I know.
It just doesn't make sense. It's like, did all the kids have a llama?
Well, one of the terrible things about it is the mud that's kind of surrounding the burial. You can see there's footprints that have been left and like skid marks where you could tell they had to drag the llamas into the area, and they can even tell where the procession went.
Wow.
And it's one of those unprecedented things that you just don't see, especially in like the Americas. Like it's just not something, even though sacrifice was something
common,
they understand that happened.
Right.
That is not a common thing. Child sacrifice is not common. So it's a very strange discovery.
Yeah. Child sacrifice, as far as a cult goes, that's like some hardcore dark magic.
Yes. Yes, it really is.
Like in even in Japan, when a child dies before it, should, unfortunate, when the woman's with child, it creates those Japanese water demons and uncool.
Yes.
So usually anything that happens with a child ends up being pretty dark.
Yes, I agree.
I would not want to be anywhere near that area in Peru.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's like just right across the street from regular buildings and stuff. It's like right in the middle of the town.
That is really crazy, though.
Yeah, well, they're going to publish a study on it, so hopefully studying it a little bit, studying it a little more, they'll get
Was his name Kronk?
Kronk was the big dumb guy,
the putty guy.
Yeah,
I like Kronk.
Yeah, I like Kronk too.
What was the funny woman?
Yzma.
Yzma.
Yes. I liked Yzma.
And that was a movie and it was a TV show, right?
Yes, there was like 2 movies and a TV show.
I want to go back and watch the movie.
Yeah, the movie's great.
Emperor's New Groove is funny.
I think we own it.
Yes. I think they're both funny. Aren't there 2, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, kids. There's a non-paranormal movie suggestion.
Family movie night.
Yeah, I actually was going through an old magazine that we actually were published in some gamer magazine from 2011, and it was talked about us being in Haunted South, and it talked about our documentaries and our book and all this stuff, that damn book that has been worked on. People are probably like, I bet they've never written a chapter. It's completed. It was completed in 2011, and I keep adding chapters.
Yeah, and some of them got rewritten.
Oh, they got rewritten many times.
Yeah.
I've rewritten some of those stories so many times. I'm sick of them.
Yeah.
There's some stories we really legit don't tell.
No,
and they're pretty good too. It's just I got so tired of them. They're just like it was like playing Freebird for Leonard Skinner. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like tell us again, Daddy, about shut up. Your mom got possessed and something bad happened with her, and she ended up on the ceiling. It was a mess. The damn llama and one of your sisters. You don't have her anymore. We buried them together. No one will ever find it though. It's hard to get the llama in the hole.
I'm sure it was.
It didn't really want to go. If we'd have thought about it, we would have probably killed it first.
And then put it
instead of dragging it to the hole. Because after it seen all the dead kids down there, it kind of knew.
It was not a stupid llama.
So there's going to be skid marks all the way to the hole.
It's terrible.
So we didn't think about it. There's some skid marks in your sister's camera.
It's terrible.
It's really bad. It's really bad. I don't know why they waited to kill the llama.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Why did you have that story? Is that story paranormal at all?
Well, it could result in something paranormal. It's a discovery. It's an amazing discovery, one of a kind. We always do.
We got a new rule. If the discovery involves dead children, I don't want to know.
Okay. No, I'm just kidding. I'll have to go through my news here. Hold on.
Was that the big? All right. Fine. You get the news.
All right. Well, let's go on to this next story. And this is kind of a discovery as well, but it has nothing to do with anybody dying.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
Well, people can die, just not kids.
Okay. So this is a story about an idol named the Sugar Idol.
Wait, I didn't understand a word you just said. Like, not a word. It was like all of a sudden marbles went in your mouth. It was like, this is a...
It's a story about an idol called the Sugar Idol.
Oh, wow. Oh, the Sugar Idol.
Yes. And gold miners discovered it.
I know, but I know the reason I said wow is I know what this is.
Oh, in 1894.
Yeah, I know what this one is.
Okay. Well, for people that don't know, it is a wooden elongated structure, and it originally stood at like 17 feet high. Some of the pieces are missing.
Right.
So it's only about 11 feet right now, but it is huge. And
it kind of sucks. If you want to go play Sugar, you like get everybody there, the family's around, and they're like, "Ah, oh, damn, there's three pieces missing. We can't play."
Well, they didn't radiocarbon date the idol until about the 1990s, but it turns out that they've done it wrong. Like the technology wasn't as good, I guess, as it is now, because they've discovered that it's actually 11,500 years old, which is twice as old as the pyramids.
Yeah, well, that's what they say. I mean, they say it's twice as old as the pyramids, and that's only because I don't believe they even know what the pyramids are.
Right.
But yes, from the time they say the pyramids are, man, that's about the time of Göbekli Tepe.
It's old.
Which Göbekli Tepe they think is around 12,000 years, but they're also trying to fit that into their narrative of the flood and all this stuff.
And they haven't even uncovered the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you never know.
It could be even way older. And there's so much stuff I've been looking at recently, and you can get right back to your story in a second, but especially with the pyramids and everything, I truly, just like we were talking about the moon, there's actually a newer study than even when I was talking about it the first of the show that states the moon is older than our universe. I haven't looked into it enough yet to actually talk about it.
Right.
I plan on for the next episode looking that up and looking up about the freaking bridge just so I can have something more than speculation. But that was an unexpected story. But with the Egyptian stuff, there's just so much going on right now. There's so much just talk about, how old is everything. And I love the fact that people are actually asking questions. They're actually not going with the norm, not going with whatever they have forced us. Academia has, forced on us and said, hey, this is what you got to go with. And this is one of those things, right? They went back and redated this.
Yeah, because originally they thought in the 90s they did it to 9,900. So they've added several thousand years on that. And now this idol was actually found in the Ural Mountains in Russia.
Right.
And it's named after the area it was found. It was found in like the sugar peat bog. So that's why it's called the Sugar Idol. And it's actually on display in the Sverdlovsk Regional Museum.
Yeah.
And so they've done a lot of studying on it. There's actually like a lot of carved faces, and they found like more faces the more they've studied it. And I think they even recently just found another one.
They even think there's messages on it.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff. And I really like in the article that the one scientist said, a lot of researchers, when they're studying early humans, they focus on the Mesopotamian area, the Fertile Crescent, where supposedly all these civilizations started. And this kind of dates back to sort of in that time period, but it's in the Ural Mountains. So he feels like, they shouldn't be so limited
so
where
matter
they're
of
looking.
fact.
They should widen their search.
Well, I thought we had found something that was not, if not older, the same age, European. And it looked like that life could have actually started with the Europeans, and but I don't know why it couldn't have been in several places, like he said. Plus, over the years, we found a lot of different species that are all pretty much, we would consider them human. We would consider them, like us, because they were intelligent and they may have looked slightly different. I mean, they found the hobbits. That's what they call them. But it was a small race of people, which is really cool for every legend ever. They have found other neighbors and cousins of ours, and they've pushed us back, hundreds of thousands of years,
with every discovery,
which is insane, absolutely insane. So if you subscribe to the Graham Hancock theories on there, that pushes you to the Great Flood. And the civilization before civilization, we were at this height of knowledge, and we had basically the power, the energy, a lot of the stuff I talk about.
Right.
We're pretty sure the flood happened. And I agree with that. the flood happened, and they're thinking that was around the time that it happened, and maybe before that. We had unbelievable knowledge, unbelievable levels of expertise on things that even more than what we have now. And you know what? Nature would reclaim if there was a disaster.
Absolutely. And quickly.
Very quickly.
Yes. A lot quicker than you would really think.
Yeah. And some of the things we have found that they have completely hidden and covered up. But then, impossible. We have found impossible things, which I love. And, we've actually talked about some of those on the show, and we will talk about them again because I love the impossible things.
Yes. But the artifacts, the things that
things
aren't supposed to exist.
Yeah, there's no way they could exist. So I love whenever they push something back like this. I think there's a lot to learn from that. That's why I got excited when you talked about it, though. Cool story.
Yeah, it is a cool story. And I like the fact that they have this huge idol that it was obviously some kind of spiritual worshiping kind of thing. And, back in a time when, that'd be amazing. I don't know if they'd let you do that, though.
I don't know why. Why not?
I don't know.
I would like to can you imagine the energy? I mean, because as I talk about sometimes, I try to put in perspective for everybody. We have a really hard time, with the exception of the Bible, knowing anything from even 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
Anything. And there's the Dark Ages, basically because there's nothing written down. I mean, it's really hard to get anything from that period.
Right.
And that wasn't that long ago. No. So there is pieces of work here and pieces of work there. And of course, they're all by the victors.
Right.
Not a lot of people were allowed to read and write. Very few. So we really don't know what was going on. It would basically be like allowing the elite right now to write all of our history.
Right.
Okay. So they would be the only ones, only that one point of view. All right.
That's how all of history is. All
of history until now. We are the generation. We are the first seriously. When the generations, when you get up to probably somewhere in the 1700s,
right?
America, pretty much. I mean, and in the other countries also, they stopped being able to control us quite as much because we started learning how to read and write in this incarnation of human beings.
Right.
I truly, absolutely, wholeheartedly believe that we've done this dance more than once. I believe that it's too much stuff that is hidden. I believe when you look at a place that is over 10,000 years old, like Göbekli Tepe, that was covered up on purpose. They know it was.
Yeah.
They know it was. It was covered on purpose, and they have not excavated. Like what?
I don't know what's taking them. Like I'd be in there digging so fast.
It's just like me in the pyramids. I would just go in there with a vacuum. I mean, I'd be blowing sand all over the place. I'd be like, we're not going to lose the important stuff. I got to get the rest of this message, Right. I'm telling you, I'm the wrong guy to find a discovery.
You'd be tearing it apart.
Yeah. I mean, Stacey's still laughing whenever we watch something on TV after the comments I made on the show about what would happen if I was building a hotel
and you found something in the ground.
Yeah. That all of a sudden we'd find it down the street the next day. And then my hotel's still going up. You gotta have your priorities.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about Yellowstone. Shall we talk about Yellowstone?
Old Yellowstone. Let's talk about that supervolcano.
So they're actually having some unusual eruptions at the largest active geyser in Yellowstone. It's called the Steamboat Geyser.
Oh.
And so there's been some articles going around
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat
about how the geyser went off 3 times this year, pretty close in succession. And that's very unusual. It hasn't actually done that since 2003. It's not one of those, it's not like Old Faithful. It doesn't go off, at a set time all the time. It erupts. Sometimes it'll erupt. Sometimes it won't.
Yeah.
So.
And it's a really big geyser.
It is. It's actually not quite the biggest. It's like the second, I think.
Right.
So
what does that mean that it goes off 3 times in a year?
It's actually just releasing a lot of the pressure that's under the ground. So some people are looking at it like something crazy is going on and, oh my gosh, it's erupting a lot and this is bad. But it's really not that bad.
So it's probably a good thing that it's releasing the pressure. If it wasn't releasing the pressure, we should worry.
Yes. In other words, the article I read said that you don't want to worry until it dries up. That's when you want to worry. And, you know, it's not something it's unusual, but it's not something that's never happened before.
Right.
Because like I said, it did happen in 2003. And there is a place online you can go and see every time it's ever erupted. And it does erupt, you know, every few years, every year.
Right.
You know, it's a normal thing. But, you know, there were a few articles going around trying to make it seem like,
well, there always is,
because they're always playing up that super volcano.
I've talked about before how much in high regard I hold suspicious observers. You know, who have the wonderful YouTube channel. I would invite all of you to go and subscribe to. He does a really great job, and I know that he's covered this. And you know, he's like, there's a lot more places in the world that I would be fearful of living, and Yellowstone is not one of them.
Right.
He said, you know, it seems very regular. It's got more ventilations and ways to let go of that energy than any other super volcano.
And that's when you have to worry, is when it's not able to release that pressure.
Right.
Because that's when it's going to blow.
Yeah. I know people are just, you know, because they hear that and they see movies all the time. It's just like the big one in California.
Right.
You know, that is destined to happen. Right. Well, just a clue for you. You know, there's a good chance that'll never happen. I mean, there is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it does happen, I'm not so sure what that really means. I mean, I'm not so sure.
I remember it used to be like, oh, California's going to fall off into the ocean.
Well, I mean, if you look at the San Andreas Fault, it looks like it could.
Right.
It really does. And it is terrifying. And even from a Sodom and Gomorrah top view,
right,
there's a good chance. There's a good chance that we'll get our answers if we actually see it go off into the sea. We'll be like, oh, we're going to church.
Where's my Bible? Where is it? Well, one thing I did want to point out about Yellowstone is, even though they aren't going to have a huge supervolcano eruption, I mean, it hasn't erupted in 70,000 years. So
right.
There are some weird things that happen there, and they have webcams there that catch strange things all the time. UFOs, weird lights, things like that. So there was a recent video. Now, there was a couple of UFO videos that happened. The most recent ones, I think there was one in December, and there was one back in October of this past year. And those were both very strange, with like the lights that came up behind the mountain and, you know, went off frame. But recently there was this video, and I've only seen it in like one or two places, but it was like some people that were out of frame.
Right.
In the bottom of the video.
Yeah.
And you can't see them, but the camera, you can tell that they're down there. And then all of a sudden, this huge bright light comes up from the same place that you see the UFO sightings in the other videos. And it comes up over like the hill, and then it flashes, like super really bright.
Yeah.
And then it flies down and goes out of frame.
Yeah.
And it's just really strange. You can't tell what's happening in the video.
It could be a drone.
It could be.
I will say this. It's an interesting piece of footage, and I'm sure you're linking to it on the website.
I will.
But one of the interesting things about it is sometimes when you see this UFO footage, it looks so real. I mean, like, there's a lot of it that looks real, but some of the footage, I can't really explain what I'm trying to say here. Some of the footage looks so much like you recorded it off your phone. Like, it's so sudden. And you're just like, oh, you know, that's kind of scary. You know, sometimes I see those, and then other times I just see the light in the sky that could be anything. But when you're seeing like the craft or one like this, it's pretty scary.
It is.
Or interesting, I should say.
Well, this one was just unusual because it looked like there were flashing lights, like maybe there were cops or something going on.
A lot of stuff going on in Yellowstone.
Yeah, like there was something going on that the camera wasn't looking at.
Right.
And then this happened, and so it was just very strange.
Yeah, there is a lot going on there. So, you know, it's a fun place to monitor with the live cams because you never know what you're going to see, right?
Yeah, and it could happen anytime. So
absolutely.
All right, well, let's move on. Now, here's a story that is kind of close to your heart. It's about a mysterious boom.
Oh, wonderful. Yes.
So actually, there's been quite a few that have been reported recently.
Yes.
And this particular one that I have is from Ohio, Girard, Ohio, where they're having booms that are so loud, people think they are gas explosions.
Wow.
And they are shaking homes and cracking foundations.
Wow.
And it's so bad that the residents have actually gone to the city hall and talked to the mayor. And the mayor has actually tried to figure out where they're coming from, because the area that they're coming from is kind of near an industrial area, which would explain it. But none of the businesses claim that they're the ones making the loud noise.
Right.
And so they haven't been able to identify it. They have up like police patrols to kind of patrol the area. So when it happens, maybe they can pinpoint it, but still just a mystery. Absolutely.
So they're still trying to triangulate the position.
Yes, they are. But recently they've also had, reports in northwestern Washington of also very loud. And these aren't just mysterious noises. These are like loud booms.
Cannons, yeah.
Yes. And then there's this one that's kind of interesting from Richland Township in Pennsylvania. And it's loud booms that a lot of people have been reporting, but they're consistent at 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And they would say that they hear it and then hear another round 5 minutes later. And it's just at the same time. So to me, that sounds like it should be like a company or somebody doing something.
Yeah.
But again, they can't figure out where it's coming from or who's doing it. Like nobody's saying, oh, that's us. Or, it's not illegal to make a loud noise. You would think that, if it was a business, they'd be like, we were doing that.
It's so interesting. There's of course, this is one of my biggest things.
It is.
If not the biggest. There's this thing about, I used to enjoy listening to nature at night. Okay. That was like, as a child, that was what I liked to listen to. I would open my bedroom window, no matter how cold it was.
Right.
And I would close my door and lock my door because my parents would be like, hey. And I would always open the window so I could hear the outside. And I did this no matter where I was. At my grandparents, I would open the window so I could hear the interstate. And I would just like hearing the noises and the ambiance of everything that was going on. Okay. Right. And as a kid, we had there's a lot of trains in Southwest Virginia. So I could hear the trains, on the mountains all night long. I could hear, they would go on forever and you could hear them echoing through the mountains. You could pretty much imagine it when you close your eyes and see what they're seeing. I would always go to like the engineers, part and where they were seeing these going through the woods. As weird as that is, knowing what I know now, I probably was in the train.
Probably.
But I would feel and know everything about my area.
Right.
When something like this happens, these people, especially the people that have lived there for a long time, your area. Right. You know the sounds, the smells, what happens every day. You're at the house more than I am. So you probably know, what happens on a normal basis with the noises and what's different and what's out of place. Right. So really, when we have these boots on the ground, which is all we have on the Mysterious Booms, is the boots on the ground stories, because no one else is covering it. Right. So it's the, citizen journalists, if you will, that are letting us know. And I can tell you from experience with that skyquake, that sky trumpet or whatever it was we heard, that, we've never heard again. Right. That was just bizarre and crazy. And it gives you this feeling of being so small. And that's the real big thing about this. The Mysterious Booms were huge to me. They were very intriguing to me. As with, I lumped them with the sky trumpets. They were very intriguing to me, but nowhere near as intriguing as they were after I heard it myself. And it's funny because I wanted to hear it so bad. I wanted to experience it so bad. We experienced it ourselves, and we know that there was a boom in the same town here a year before. We didn't hear that, but it happened here. So that's interesting that it was the same place. Right. But after hearing that, the one thing you feel is small. And then when you don't understand it, and especially in some of the ones like you're talking about in Ohio, where they're actually cracking foundations. Now, I've heard of that before happening with these Mysterious Booms. And think about that really hard. I want all of our listeners right now to really think about this very hard. There is something happening that is shaking foundations, that is shaking buildings. I've seen a report from somewhere in Michigan as well, where it shook the building. And everybody there experienced it, and they've experienced it for a couple of weeks. And normally this stuff lasts for a few weeks, and then it's gone. So I want you, while you're thinking, think about the fact that we are having these cannon-like sounds, these sonic boom type sounds that people are calling military bases. They are calling military bases to ask if that was a sonic boom. This is not happening
in one town. This is not happening for 2 weeks. This is not happening in one state or 1 year. This has been happening for a very long time, but it's really been hardcore happening, since we've been doing our show. Mm-hmm. And you go back to 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, whatever show you want to find of ours, you're going to find Mysterious Boom Reports. Now, anything else? Can you imagine going outside right now and going somewhere nobody's going to see where you're at, and you set off some little bomb that you make, some little homemade bomb, and it makes a big, big boom, right?
Right. Don't
you think that they're probably going to research that or find out? I mean, seriously, they're going to, they're more than likely going to find out, right? Mm-hmm. And it's going to make the news, the big news, because it's going to be picked up. Why is this not on the nightly news? I know I've said it before. I don't know. But it's happening worldwide. Folks, this is happening worldwide. This should be a big deal to everyone. This is not... I know 100% that there's a UFO cover up and there's UFOs. I know that ghosts are real. Mm-hmm. Okay. But even with all that, the evidence supporting the mysterious booms and the skyquakes is as solid as it gets. Mm-hmm. There is everything from seismographs to recordings to videos to countless hours on YouTube to credible police officers and local news stations and everyone else who have seen and heard and felt and experienced the booms. And what happens when that 2 weeks is done, when that 3 weeks is done and the booms have stopped? You forget about it.
Mm-hmm. You go on.
You move on.
Yep.
If we didn't do this show, would we have ever thought about that night again with the skyquake?
No, probably not.
No, we wouldn't have thought about it.
It'd been over and done with.
Everybody wants everything normal. Mm-hmm. And if they feel like, hey, they're not going to listen to us, they're not going to do anything, we just accept it. Mm-hmm. We're just accept it because they're not going to do anything. And that's unacceptable. I really want to know, government that's listening right now, I really want to know the answers to this one, okay? Mm-hmm. I promise you, I won't tell anyone on this one. I'm going to give you a freebie. I'm going to give you a freebie. This is your mulligan.
You're going to use your freebie on Mysterious Booms?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I that's it. I don't need to know about anything else.
I think everybody should have a freebie.
Yeah, one freebie.
One question.
Yeah.
One thing.
Yeah, that you can ask anybody or just the government. Like anybody or anything, just one question, no matter what it is, you can have answered.
There you go. I guess so, yeah.
Yeah,
everybody should get one.
I'd like to have that too.
All right, well, let's move on. Away from the mysterious booms.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay.
I'm very passionate.
Yes, I know this going in. That's why I kind of stick it in the middle of the news.
All right.
All right. So this is kind of an interesting Bigfoot story.
Okay.
This is from Lee's Summit, Missouri. And this is about a Boy Scout leader who called in a Bigfoot researcher because he was camping. He had his troop out and they were camping. And he said they heard like this chattering at night. And he was curious, but he said he wasn't curious enough to, go check it out.
Right.
But when they woke up the next morning, there were large footprints outside their campsite and they were camping near Lake Giacomo.
Wow.
And there's a picture that he has on there of his foot in between these two humongous footprints. And I mean, they look like huge footprints. It's very strange. And so he actually called this man named Tom Biscardi, who was a Bigfoot researcher. He does, documentaries and goes all over the country or whatever. And Biscardi actually thought that the tip was really worth checking out, even though he gets lots of tips, because of the area. There's lots of caves in that area, lots of different places that he feels like a Bigfoot would like to live and maybe hide.
Right.
So there's a whole news story on it where you see them going around with their equipment. It doesn't say if they found anything, but they did take cameras out, trail cameras, parabolic dishes, all the stuff, and looked around to see if they could find anything.
Oh, that's very cool.
So it's a pretty cool story. You have to check it out. And definitely look at the picture of the footprints with the guy's foot in the middle. It's really crazy.
Yeah, I absolutely will. Speaking of Bigfoot, a couple things. Bill Lancaster, old friend of ours, him and his wife
been doing a Bilco Productions. They've got a documentary coming out, and I'll give you more updates when I know. But Cultured Bigfoot, he gave me a rough cut of it to watch, and we're going to. We've been super busy, so we're going to check that out and watch it, and sort of give a little review on it to him. Yes. He's wanting us to check it out, and he's also he got a really cool article about the film in this month's Cryptic Culture magazine.
Oh, cool.
So
I'll have to link to that.
Yeah, definitely check that out. And Stacey and I are going to check this out. I want to give them as much publicity as I can. We've known them; they've been a friend of the show since the show started, and it was good. We kind of reconnected, and the Cryptic Culture magazine's pretty cool. It's got the story on there with them. So, pretty cool. And his wife, they're kind of like us because his wife narrates everything and writes and,
right.
Does all the heavy lifting. And,
of course.
So, pretty cool stuff, but we're going to check it out. And
we'll definitely talk about that.
And, something else crazy, because he has one of the Finding Bigfoot guys in that documentary. They're actually coming to a close on that series.
That is my next story.
Oh.
See it right here on the little piece of paper?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can continue.
Okay, you continue. It's fine.
So I was going to mention that since we were talking about Figfoot, who I don't know who Figfoot is.
Figfoot, a interesting little fella.
So Finding Bigfoot,
I call him Littlefoot,
is coming to the end with their one.
What was that on with Michael Jackson? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
It was a Mystery Science Theater. It wasn't at the Manos Hands of Fate.
Yes. Yeah. No. We were watching. It was a Riff Tracks.
Oh, a Riff Tracks. That's
it
right.
was a Riff Tracks that's available on Amazon Prime, and it's a Bigfoot movie, and it's horrible.
Right. Oh gosh, with the super slow Bigfoot.
And Bigfoot is a paper mache Bigfoot mask. So it's the most horrific Bigfoot mask I've ever seen.
Yes.
And it's the guys who used to do Mystery Science Theater 3000. And it's so funny, but it took forever. Like the movie itself. I know we know going in the movies are going to be bad,
right?
But there is good bad movies, and then there's bad movies, and Manos to Hand of Fate and this Bigfoot movie are bad movies. Okay, so we were watching it, and they did something like Bigfoot. They're like Michael Jackson had this Bigfoot. He's like, I call him Littlefoot. I don't know why that's.
It was hilarious at the time.
Yeah, it was really funny.
All right. So anyway, they're coming to a close on their 100th episode.
Yes.
Which is on May 27th is when it premieres. And it's going to be sort of a retrospective. Plus, they're also going back to the area of the Patterson-Gimlin footage because that's like the 50th anniversary. We talked about that.
Right.
And they're going to do some, investigating in that area with some new technology and that sort of thing. It's like a 2-hour episode.
Yeah.
But I guess this is the end of the show.
I've not watched very many of them. I watched the one from Maine, obviously. And then I watched the ones back in the Appalachians when I was down there. I think that's one of those shows when people are like, oh my God, they're here in my backyard. Let's watch it.
Right.
It's pretty cool. And the thing about it, I'm on a lot of message boards, and I'm in a lot of groups that I wish I wasn't in, that I don't feel like going through and taking myself out of.
Right.
So I get sucked into their little worlds.
Right.
And one day I'm going to track every one of them people down that have added me to a group without asking in Facebook. That's going to be my list. Like when you see me hit that moment where I lose it, and
I'm in the top of a tower with a gun.
Where I come downstairs and I'm wearing a full suit and I have a rose in the front of my suit.
Right.
And I just kiss you on the side of the cheek, and I'm like, I love you, darling. And I'll leave with a stoic look on my face.
I'll be like, why are you carrying that violin case?
And a list of Facebook groups.
What is that?
What is that? But yeah, there's a few really cool ones I'm in, actually, some cryptid ones, and I really enjoy it. But sometimes I get on the discussions, and I just like you got me reading comments, which I never used to do.
I love to read comments.
So there's this big debate about the Finding Bigfoot show.
Okay.
And the big debate is that they were not allowed to show things that they captured. Now, this is not my debate.
Right.
But it was interesting because I've seen it in more than one place. And I've seen some people really, like at first I thought they were being sarcastic.
Right.
I thought they were like, yeah, they never captured anything this whole time. And like that was the article, which was sarcastic.
Right.
It's like they're going to close the show down without ever capturing Bigfoot.
Right.
Which is kind of unfair just on the stuff I've seen. I've seen it where they've heard things and they've had the wood knocks and all this stuff. If Bigfoot wasn't elusive, they wouldn't have needed a show in the first place.
Right.
But anyway, I was reading down through there, and there was a lot of people saying the same thing on many different sites, saying that they didn't allow them to use
some of their stuff.
And I thought that was really strange.
That is kind of strange.
I would like to know more about that, if that's something that had made it out there at some point. So if anybody knows anything about that, let me know. Bigfoot was never my jam.
Me neither.
I'm into Bigfoot. Definitely the In Search Of, as a kid, Bigfoot was one of the things that like pulled me into this because of In Search Of.
Right.
And there is some stuff, once I got, as you guys know, and you've chronicled by being with us, once you get out in the woods, you have a new respect for the Bigfoot, and it's another one of those things that I do believe in. It's just not my favorite thing. And one of the big reasons I believe in it is because, again, every continent has a Bigfoot of some way, whether it's a Yowie or a Sasquatch, they all have one. So interesting stuff, interesting tidbits. But yeah, we will give you, we'll link some stuff for that Bill Lancaster deal and documentary.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's move on and let's do a NASA story.
Oh, boy.
So this is sort of an interesting story about NASA. So, President Trump, he signed that new bill where, he wants people to go back to the moon and to Mars,
good stuff.
New initiative. Well, NASA has scrapped their lunar surface mission, the one that they've been working on that's supposedly supposed to go to the moon soon. They've just scrapped it. And the scientists are very baffled.
Are they?
They're very baffled, yes. So it was the Resource Prospector. And the main goal of the Resource Prospector was to go to the poles and try to find a way to see if there were any resources they could mine so that people could stay on the moon long term by mining the resources from the moon. It's a very important part of getting people back on the moon.
To have colonies and
mission,
stuff.
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we could shoot from there to go somewhere else.
Yes. And the really strange thing about this is they just swore in the new administrator, Jim Bridenstine.
Okay.
And the day that he took the job was the day that they were told that they needed to stop and to wrap up everything they were doing by the end of May. And when they asked for an explanation or for reasons, NASA was very vague and just said not.
Where are they?
Yeah, just said not to worry, that parts of the rover would be used in other missions and that it would all eventually happen. But as far as it is right now, there isn't anything going on to get us to the moon like we're supposed to be doing.
That's insane.
So it's very, very strange.
I mean, it's, you know what? They lost the telemetry.
Is that what it is?
I know. I mean, that's the whole thing that keeps ringing in my head every time I hear anything about the going to the moon.
Right.
Is they will tell you that they lost the telemetry to get us to the moon. They admit that. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy fact.
Right.
And the fact that we went to the moon in the late 60s and early 70s, and it's 2018, and they don't know how to get us to the moon. Like that again, as far as taking the people there and everything. There's just something crazy about it. There's just something nuts.
Well, something strange is going on. We've done the stories about how they're planning on doing that space platform thing, where they're going to do experiments, but that's not a lunar surface mission. And they don't have a lunar surface mission now, even though they're supposed to. So I don't know, very strange. This new guy comes in and all of a sudden,
Ford quits making cars and they're not going to the moon.
He's a very political guy. And, it's just an odd timing.
It's very odd timing.
It's odd timing.
There's no such thing as coincidence.
No, exactly.
So he came in and it's done. And that's not right.
No.
And Ford actually is going to quit making cars except for the Mustang.
Except for the Mustangs. People don't buy them anymore.
They're making a ton of money on trucks. And
it's partially our fault with our Explorer out there.
Yeah, but it sucks. I mean,
I know.
Ford Motor Company is a big part of my family's history.
At least they're still going to make the Mustang.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yes. Even though I don't need them to make new ones. I just want to get like an 86, 87, 5.0. All right.
Well, speaking of NASA, they're actually coming out with a big announcement on May 2nd.
Ooh, that's a special day.
It is a special day.
Do you know what that day is?
Let me think. Something happened on May 2nd. Did I get my hair done? No.
I think you got like the best thing ever on that day.
Okay, that's the night. That's the day that we met.
Yes.
May 2nd.
Our
Little
first
trivia there.
Our first dance, first kiss. You got a poster downstairs commemorating it?
Yes, the sky chart. It's very pretty.
May 2nd's the real anniversary.
Yeah, that's the one we celebrate most of the time. I mean, we celebrate our wedding anniversary, but we count May 2nd as how long we've been together.
Yeah.
So
cool.
It's cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, their announcement is about a new propulsion system that they've come out with called Kilopower.
Kilopower?
Kilopower.
Kilopower is you know, that sounds like Scarface.
Well, it's supposedly a new...
Say hello to my little friend.
It's a new system that's supposed to save them a lot of money and energy and things like that. A new way to get us to Mars.
I like the name.
Kilopower. So it has something to do with nuclear fission, and I'm sure they'll explain it all in the announcement.
Kilopower. I hope they've found a way to put liquid cocaine into the... We really know how to get us there really quicker. And if we can't get there quicker, we're going to be happy the whole way.
Well, another story that I saw that I thought was really interesting, and this is just for you. Just for you. Do you remember when you were a kid and you had the opportunity to go to space camp?
Yes.
And you didn't go.
Yes, I remember. Thanks for bringing that up.
Now you can go to adult space camp.
Really?
Yes, there is an adult space camp.
Wait a second. When you say adult space camp...
I mean like space camp for grown-ups.
Oh, okay.
Over 18 years old.
We're not going to be having fun with like zero gravity.
No, not that kind of adult. Not like XXX adult.
It doesn't go in your face.
So this actually is just a 3-day, 2-night experience where you bunk on the compound and they give you...
You do what?
You bunk on the, sleep in the bunks on the compound.
Okay.
In the... There's something wrong with your headphones tonight. I don't know what's
Get
going
a dog, little Augie.
And you get to do all those fun things like riding the multi-axis machine and,
Yes, space
see what
camp.
it's like to walk on the moon and all that stuff. And, sort of in a compact little adult experience for you.
Do they screen 1984's blockbuster Space Camp?
I don't know, but I kind of want to watch that now that you've mentioned it. I love that movie. We just showed it to Aerie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I'm sure it would not translate well now.
No, probably not.
Yeah, I can't believe
Space Camp was awesome.
I can't believe you brought up Space Camp. Like, I was one of the kids that was going to get to go.
I know.
Like, it was paid for, dude.
Yeah.
I was going.
I don't know what happened. You didn't get to go.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. Well, now you can go and do a weekend there and fulfill that Space Camp fantasy.
I just wanted to be an astronaut. I had it all planned out, and they were behind me. I was going to be an astronaut, and it was going to start with Space Camp.
At least you didn't end up being a coal miner.
You would have to listen to every episode.
Somebody will get it. So don't even explain it.
No, I'm not.
Somebody
I'm
will
not.
get it.
Somebody's going to have to listen to every episode and would know why that's sad and funny and why.
More funny than sad.
Yeah.
So here's another space story, this last space story for you. And this is about how space agencies are planning to bring Mars rocks back to Earth to study.
Oh, wonderful.
So the European Space Agency and NASA have signed a letter of intent to work on a mission to go to Mars, collect the soil samples, and return them back to Earth for a more sophisticated analysis of the rocks than would be possible with like a lander or a rover. And it says in this article that the samples will be kept in pristine condition.
Will they?
So that the results can be independently verified and new ideas tested when technology improves.
Oh.
So I'm certainly hoping that they keep these in pristine condition
Are
at
you
the
thinking
European
about-
Space Agency.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you thinking about the clean room that we talked about recently?
Yes, full of fungus. The fungusy NASA clean room.
The fungus among us. Yeah, it was really... It was really bad. Really, really bad, that story. If you want to remind somebody.
Yes, it was a story about how they were testing one of their clean rooms where they kept samples from space and they found fungus in like some of the air vents in some of the different places. And they swear that there's a second line of defense and that none of the samples were tainted by any of this fungus. But, they didn't really know the fungus was in there to begin with. So I don't know how reliable that statement is. And their clean room was not clean. At all.
No, not at all. Right? You know, it's just going to be bad if they do it. I mean, they shouldn't bring anything back from space like that. It's all worth it for that. It's all worth it for that sound. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. One of the most famous scenes of any movie ever. The alien chest burst scene. That's one of the greatest movies in the history. One of the greatest scenes in history of movies.
There you go.
When the alien pops out, we get the big reveal there. That's all I could think of when I hear of bringing something back from space.
Yes.
Especially with the way we keep things, is the alien scene there.
I mean, that could possibly have happened.
I just like when
and
it pops.
We never know.
Yeah, I just like when it pops out. I was like, you know, it's such a great scene.
All right.
I miss the old effects, the old Hollywood effects. Like,
right.
They used to do them all themselves. They didn't used to, now they just bid all the effects out to other companies.
Right.
And of course, it's all CGI. And even when they try to use some practical effects, it's not the same. Back in the day, it was all like puppets and people actually
they'd squirt real blood on you.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
They would squirt, the stuff on you that was really amazing, and makeup effects and makeup artists and real true artists. And it looked, I think it looked real enough. I believe that you're escaping reality anyway. And for me, when I see a CGI running scene, I'm sorry, I can usually tell. It's just not the same. It's really not the same. And I think that the actors themselves are nowhere near as motivated as they are. Like when you're in a room and you're getting sprayed with red jelly or whatever.
Right.
It's a little bit different when you're seeing like a little hand puppet alien come out of somebody's stomach. You can kind of play with that better than somebody wearing a green suit with the little stupid bubbles on it. I can't do that. And some dude laying there in that suit, I mean, that would be really hard.
It would be. It would be difficult.
I would much rather have the
actual
stuff happening, man.
Except for that, Bigfoot paper mache mask.
Yeah,
that was not good.
That was bad. I call him Littlefoot. Continue.
All right, so I have this one last story, and this one's actually kind of interesting. This is from Nottingham, in England.
That's my favorite place.
In Nottingham,
where do you live?
Actually,
Nottingham
actually has a lot of caves underneath the city.
Yeah, of course it does.
Tons of man-made caves. So this is a story about a cave system that they're actually going to open up to the public for the first time in more than 20 years.
Well, don't be first, kids.
The Peel Street Caves, and they were carved out.
Wait 2 weeks.
In the 18th century, and they're open. They're going to be open to the public as part of like the City Council's Festival of Caves.
So why did they open those? Why did they carve those out in the 1700s?
There are a lot of different reasons. There's some that go from where the castle was to different places in the city, like old inns and things like that. I
Sounds
know
pretty naughty for Nottingham.
There were some that were carved out that they used as bomb shelters. I know that there's some that, people did all kinds of things down in there.
I'm sure they still got naughty in bomb shelters. I bet they used to knock a lot of boots in bomb shelters because, especially like when the air raid sirens are going and you're in a bomb shelter. That would be my pickup line during times of war.
Right.
I would have been like the busiest dude around, man. It would be like, hey, we're going to die. Like the scene in Grease 2.
Oh, there you go. That didn't work for him, by the way.
It didn't work, did it? It wouldn't work for me either.
I think this one's dubbed the Robin Hood one because it's close to Sherwood Forest.
Oh yeah, don't screw with that stuff.
But I'm going to link to this article that was written that talks about all the different caves and where they go and all the history with them and stuff. It's really, really interesting. And some of those inns and pubs and things they have there. We're talking about built in like 1000.
It's very awesome. Yeah,
crazy.
The one thing that I really want to research. I really want to research the Arthurian legends. I really want to go on a expedition for 2 years, 3 years. It doesn't have to have cameras. I just want to make a lot of money and go and not worry about anything, not worry about the fact we're doing this.
Right.
And I really want to go in some of these caves and some of these places where they, that the supernatural side of the Arthurian legends. There's a lot of magic. There's a lot of cover up to that. We've talked about this before, but when you get close, things happen to you. It's really strange. There's a lot of weirdness with the Arthurian legends.
There really is.
I think we need to deep dive those. I think we need to do some deep research into the Arthurian legends and do a whole show on it.
Oh, that'd be a good topic for a show. Yeah.
It's something you don't hear every day.
Right.
And so that's a date.
Okay.
We're going to look that up and we're going to do a big show.
Okay.
On that, because it's I don't know.
It's actually, there's a lot of stuff about it and stories about people that research it that I bet a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely cool stuff. But hey, that's good stuff. All right. Well, that was a heap and helping of you didn't have really any funny stories, did you?
Not really. There wasn't a lot of extremely funny things that happened.
Well, hopefully I made them a bit.
I think so. I mean, unless
we like to keep it serious.
Unless you get that story from Maine where the guy's car, they thought he had, drugs in his car, and it turned out to be the human remains of his father that was in 2 little baggies in the car.
That's really terrible. That really happened?
Yes, in Maine.
And they arrested him thinking he had
No. So
heroin?
He let a friend drive his car, and the guy wrecked it. And so they found these bags, and they thought it was heroin. Yes. And then they took it and tested it because he went to get his car, and he was like, look, that's my dad.
Oh my God.
And they tested it, and they finally returned it to him.
I bet his dad had a kick out of that. You know what I mean?
I think he ordered an urn. If you're wondering why he carried his dad around in his car, I think he ordered an urn and it hadn't come yet, and he just had the ashes in his car. And
I don't know. I want to be kept in a bong.
Keeping. Oh, we've talked about your ashes.
Oh, yeah.
Several times.
What are you doing with my ashes?
I'm turning you into jewelry. You're going to be a diamond.
Ah. Yeah. That's cool. You're going to wear me though, right?
Yes.
That would be awesome. Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
But, I mean, that's cool. If you died first, I don't even want to think about it. So,
Aww.
I don't,
I don't know what you'd do with me.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I really don't know. Probably join you. I don't think I could take it.
I'll haunt you and let you know what to do.
Yeah, I don't think I could take it. But you know what I can take?
What?
ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to find out everything sappy. On Facebook.com, it's /Paranormal Sideshow. Sap away. On the Twitter, it's @Sideshow97. Not quite as sappy. Kind of weird, actually. On Instagram, hot sappy damn. It's John and Stacey Edwards. YouTube.com /Paranormal Sideshow. We don't get sappy at all in that video show. And please take a quick moment to follow, like, and subscribe us. Yeah, subscribe us. Not to us, just subscribe us. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever the hell you're listening to it right now. That's a good start to find it. Showcase your inner weirdo and support your favorite paranormal podcast. That's us, folks. If you have to wonder there, multiple choice, we'll answer it for you by checking out all of your t-shirt designs we have now. And we actually have some new ones up.
Some new believer shirts.
Yeah, some new believers by the wonderful artist known as the Raja. And she has made us 2 new believer shirts. One is a fairy, and the other one is a ghosty.
Yes.
So it makes it cute by putting the E on the end of it. So definitely check that out. And, like I said, we're going to, said earlier in the show, we're going to probably talk to you a little bit about some stuff coming up. We've been hammering around what we want to do, and we want to bring you more content. We love each and every one of you. We really want to do some more stuff for you. And just have some more fun, have some more laughs. But until then, from my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the sideshow.
Good night.